Hello.
Hello, is this Dino?
Yes, it is. Is this DJ Ramo?
This is DJ Ramo, Omar Rodriguez with the Metal Mixtape.
Okay.
Nintenjoel. And this is Captain Manhattan for the Metal Mixtape as well.
How's it going, my brother? How's it going today?
How's it going? Is there two people I'm talking to?
You're talking to three, me and my co-host.
The trio.
Oh, okay, I see. I get it. All good.
It's mostly going to be one person, but yeah, we're all here for the fun and random questions.
Yeah.
So
why DJ? Is it DJ Ramos? Is that what it is?
It's Ramo is it's my name backwards because my name's Omar. So
Omar,
if you flip it around, it's Ramo.
Ramo. I like it. Where are you guys from? What am I calling it?
We are from Ashland, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, we've got Latinos have migrated everywhere.
Oh yeah, no, dude. Yeah, dude. My family's huge, dude. My Rodriguez family, we own like 30 restaurants. We are as Mexican as you can be.
What type of restaurants?
Well, we own Puerto Vallartas, we own Mazatlans, we own El Mariachis, and yeah, I mean just traditional style. And then
But you don't have anything here in California, though.
Yeah, we do. We have 4 restaurants in Redding, California. We have 1 restaurant in Santa Rosa.
What's it called? What are they called?
Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, Puerto Vallarta. I'm not sure if I ever been to one called Puerto Vallarta or not.
Hey, you let them know you talk to Omar, and I'll get you free guacamole.
But I don't really venture off into the Redding, California.
No, we all try not to.
I'm not that far, maybe an hour and a half or so, but still, maybe a couple hours. Not really.
Are you an LA proper?
What's that?
Are you an LA proper?
I can't hear you say it again.
I said, are you an LA proper?
Yes, I'm in Burbank, California. Actually.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, that's awesome, Jay Leno.
Jay Leno, exactly. He's got his garage out here.
Well, Dino, it's an honor to talk to you, man. We've all been following Fear Factory for a while.
I'm sorry.
What was that?
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, dude. I also love your endorsement with Ormsby guitars, dude. I think that's badass, dude. I think every guitar you've released is absolutely sick, dude. And us as fans, we always see our favorite bands doing these tours and working so hard to release all this music. I want to know, at what age were you inspired to play music? Was it a family inspiration? Was it a friend that got you a guitar? Like, what made you become a musician?
All the above, to be honest with you. What really got me into playing guitar was seeing an artist by the name of Angus Young. He plays guitar in AC/DC. We're talking like 1986. I was like 9 years old. I'm sorry, 1976. I was like 9 years old. I saw him on TV. And I was like, damn, that's what I want to do, right, for the rest of my life. Then I looked over to my left, and I realized, hey, man, we got an acoustic guitar in the house. And why do we have an acoustic guitar in the house? It's because my dad was playing some mariachi. He was dabbing a little bit into music, but he was a professional baseball player, but he loved music. He loved mariachi. So, and my mother was into rock and roll, the early rock and roll, Beatles, Elvis, things like that. But I have older brothers and sisters who were also into the more modern stuff back then, everything from metal, rock, punk, to stoner type of music. You take some acid, you're all into Pink Floyd, things like that. So I was able to, absorb all that different types of music, but it wasn't really until I was 14 when I got my first electric guitar, and I started playing that and started learning all the riffs from all my favorite bands at that time. And then it just progresses. And then by the time I was 17, I left home, came straight to California. Came straight to LA, and just started my musical journey there.
Hey, that's absolutely beautiful. So I got a two-part reply to that. First, what was your first electric guitar that you got? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was a Les Paul copy from a company called Sublett. Never heard of it. It was the only thing that was available. I actually wanted an SG Gibson like Angus Young, but there was none available in the small town where I was living, in a place called El Centro, California, which is on the Mexican and Arizona border.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it was in California, so it's only like 3.5 hours outside of Los Angeles. So yeah, when I was 17 years old, the minute I graduated high school, I got a Greyhound bus ticket and I came straight to LA.
Dude, that's awesome, dude. So when you got to LA, I know in LA it's fierce. There's a lot of competition, a lot of bands just putting their all. Was there a turning point, maybe with like a show or a moment in your career where you knew that you could do this for the rest of your life?
Oh, the minute that my pick hit the string, I knew that this was going to be a turning point in general, overall, because I just loved the way it felt. It's like, you might have heard a baseball player say when he swings the ball and that ball connects with the bat, he loves that feeling. And that's just how I felt. Man, I put that pick hitting that string, boom, I'm like, I needed to make this real. And the turning point was when I started Fear Factory, because it's the most serious band that I had. I had other bands. Remember, I had Brujeria before I had Fear Factory. So, yeah. So, and there was other bands that I had as well before that. But it wasn't until I really honed in on what I wanted to create with Fear Factory, the style. You know what I mean? The style of music, and finding the right guys around me. It took a little time to find the right guys, but when I found the right guys, I created this combination of people that I knew that we were going to be able to create something new. And back when we made our first record, that was the turning point for me. I'm like, I'm not looking back.
That's absolutely beautiful, man.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
That's awesome. Okay, so Nintenjoel here. So you guys were originally known as Ulceration, and then there's apparently a factory that changed you guys' mind, and that's how Fear the Factory started, and then Fear Factory. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that factory and like what went on? Because that sounds like a crazy story.
Okay, you guys need to quit reading Wikipedia. That's completely wrong.
Oh, see, that's why I love this stuff. Actually, it wasn't from Wikipedia. Metal Archives has that listed.
Metal Archives, metal, just a bunch of little, little things like that that say that. Yeah. No, it's wrong. And
So
I tried changing. What?
How was Fear Factory, the name, born then?
Hold on, let me finish. I'm telling you, there's a lot of little sites like that quote that wrong. No, we were never called Ulceration, but me and Burton had a band called Ulceration, right?
Gotcha.
Me and Raymond had another band that we were jamming with, right? And I was like, I need this guy playing drums, and I need this guy singing. So basically, I introduced Burton to Raymond, and that was the birth of Fear Factory. So it wasn't like Ulceration became Fear Factory, no. And we were never called Factory of Fear or Fear of the Factory, or none of that other stuff that people thought of. And I don't know why that's there, but anyways, no. My roommate, a guy by the name of Robert Murray, who's my roommate at the time, back in 1990, he came up with the name Fear Factory. We were writing a bunch of names on a piece of paper, and one of the names was Factory, right? And my buddy sees that, and he goes, hey, why don't you put Fear in front of that? I'm like, Fear? I'm like, yeah, put Fear. Make it say Fear Factory. And I'm like, that's a good name, because we were trying to find a name that wasn't too far from. Well, we didn't want a death metal name, right?
For sure.
We didn't want a typical metal name. and we didn't want to go too far industrial, so we thought Fear Factory would be perfect because it's right somewhere in the middle, and we could create something that was more broader than just one type of music. You know what I mean? And the name stuck. We just loved it, and that's how it became Fear Factory.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, no, I'm always trying to be careful when I look into reading stuff, you know, because we have so many like news outlets and so many information outlets. I don't even know what's real anymore half the time, unless I'm talking to somebody.
Well, that's the thing, though, is you get to clear things up when you actually talk to people, because if that's everywhere, well, now people can actually refer to this interview, and, you know, it's cleared up now.
Yeah, I've tried changing the Wikipedia. I've tried, you know, all these little sites that have the metal archives. There's another one called Metalum or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like Metal Museum, but they call it Metal something. I've tried telling these people, and they don't change it. But whatever, it is what it is. I just have to keep correcting people for the rest of my life.
Oh, no.
No, I dig it, dude. I dig it. So, dude, of course, you know, with Fear Factory and, you know, starting to get tours and playing all these shows, do you have, like, your first big memorable tour that maybe, like, got you, like, nervous again, like, all over again? Like one where, like, you know, you were sharing the stage with somebody and you're just, like, sitting side stage going, like, holy shit, like, this is awesome. You have an experience like that?
Yeah, I mean, plenty of experiences. Metallica. The first time we ever played a show with Metallica, you know, and then when we were playing, I looked over and I seen Metallica looking at us. So I was like, holy shit. That was kind of one of those moments that, you know, I actually got a little nervous. But I've never been nervous of the stage. I've always felt like it belonged there. So I love, you know, putting a smile on people's faces because they enjoy your music. So I never been nervous in that way. But when you got your peers, you know, Metallica looking at you and checking out your band, that's when I was like really blown away and just got really nervous. But you know, I was still able to perform, you know, professionally, and that was like in 2001.
Dude, that's kick-ass, dude. That's a kick-ass, dude. You've been playing music for a while now, dude. Is there, like, a regimen you learned for, like, playing guitar on tour that you maybe, like, learned some lessons the first time and you realized, because I know as a guitar player myself, you know, I had to get my hands used to playing that many days in a row and getting all used. Is there, like, a routine or a regimen you learned as the show started picking up?
Yeah, there's a few things that I learned. One of them is try to get enough sleep. One of them is try to drink enough water. You know what I mean? Stay hydrated. And two is to stretch out your muscles. You know, over the years, I've had to stretch out my forearms and my hands more now than before. Just because as you get older, you have to, you know, keep in shape that way. And another thing too is I warm up with a bass guitar because the strings are bigger. There's a tighter tension, and you know, as a guitar player, you're not really used to playing bass, so you know, you warm up that way. So all of a sudden, when you pick up a guitar, you're like, it's really fast. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like weight training.
Correct. Pretty much. Totally. It's like again a bat reference. You know, people put a weight on their bat to warm up, and then boom, then they go up to the plate and they're able to swing faster. You know.
Yeah, no, for sure. For me, when you started saying that, I watched a show called Dragon Ball Z, and they have weighted clothes, and anytime before they fight, they take off all their weighted clothes.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
So, are you familiar with the so-called gent scene? And do you feel that your band actually influenced the genre and almost the entire workings of that kind of music? Because I've always felt that Fear Factory, amongst other bands, maybe a couple other bands, were the only bands that were really playing that kind of chunky, machine-like style music.
Yeah, I've gotten asked that a lot of times. I've also got accused of that a lot of times. You know what I mean? If the music's good, the music's good. You know what I mean? Regardless of what genre you want to be in or what you want to be called. You know what I mean? The jet style is just a chug, really. You know what I mean? It's got a chug vibe to it. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing that for a long time. And it just, over the years, it just became that word. But a lot of people like to say Fear Factory and Meshuggah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't want to name them specifically, but that's who I was thinking of. When I was 16 is when I got into you guys, so about 95. My aunt gave me, she lives in San Diego, she sent me a cassette of Demanufacture, and soon after that I heard Meshuggah and I heard Destroy, Erase, and Prove, and you two were the only bands that reminded me of each other just a little bit. Didn't really sound like each other, but there was something going on that was different from everybody else, and...
there's a big difference between Meshuggah and Fear Factory.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
I believe that we early on influenced Meshuggah in some ways. I remember they mentioned that. A couple of the guitar players mentioned that. But if that's true, that's great. But literally those two records were a month apart, believe it or not. So, but if you go back to our early records, Soul of the Machine, would that be considered djent? With a song like Scapegoat.
Yeah,
it's got that.
That was one of the
it's got
first CDs
that
I ever got.
djent. It's got the djent chugging, and that was back in 1992, I believe. And Meshuggah at that point were more of a thrash band before Destroy, Erase, and Prove. You know what I mean? So I think both bands kind of progressed. It's a big difference between Soul of a New Machine and, Demanufacture. Whereas Demanufacture, we kind of more honed in. But at that time, you got to realize that we were bigger than Meshuggah at that time. You know what I mean? Meshuggah was still kind of an unknown band, right? And here we were, we had a big hit with Replica. That was a big song worldwide. You know what I mean? And I think more people at that moment were probably influenced by Fear Factory than they were Meshuggah. Meshuggah's influence probably didn't come until a little later. It started becoming more mainstream. They became more popular. Fear Factory, much different band. We have melodic hooks. We have melodic vocals. Meshuggah doesn't do anything like that. And I believe people who like Fear Factory probably like Meshuggah and vice versa. And I think it's great that you think that we were the first two bands to really do that. And now that I look back at it, you're probably right. I can't think of anybody else at that time was doing syncopated guitars with kick drums and chugging the way we chugged at all. Of course, Meshuggah are way more mathematical than we were. We were kind of more straightforward, but we had those elements where we syncopated everything together. And to me, the idea actually came from Metallica, because back in 1988, Metallica released that record called Injustice for All, and there was that one big song called One. And in the middle of that song, there's a part where Lars, James, and Kirk and Jason all sync up together and go, how can I live? How can I die? Just that one little part was like, why the fuck can't they do that more? And I was like, well, if they're not gonna do it, then I'm gonna do it. So I pretty much based my band off of that one syncopated part they did, and just based the whole albums that way.
I remember the first time I saw that video on the coast of Oregon. I had just moved there, and One came on in my bedroom, and that part came on, and I literally took out a piece of paper and tried to write out what he was doing, and it was like ba 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 ba. So the next day I would try to remember that riff, and that riff absolutely blew me away. What's funny is I listened to Fear Factory. Not long after I heard that song. I had already heard Metallica for a while, but that song had escaped me back then when it was just tape trading, recorded songs. And I had missed a lot of Injustice for All, but had heard a lot of Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning. And when it got to that, I was like, what's that? Oh my God, I need that.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to our early demos, and you hear that, and then it progresses, into the first record, which was Concrete,
Yeah.
but it didn't come out till years later. And then going into Soul of a New Machine, all that syncopated guitars with kick drums was something that, like I said, was the basis of the core of what this band was about.
Yeah.
And then, it was kind of like copying the machine, because I was trying to copy samplers, because back then a lot of hip hop bands, a lot of industrial bands sampled guitar riffs, and you can hear that they took a riff from some band and they used it for their music, kind of like how hip hop uses drum beats and stuff like that, right? Sample drum beats, and in particular Public Enemy and KMSDM and even Ministry, they were sampling guitars, and every time they sampled the guitar, you could hear that the guitar would truncate. In other words, it would start over. So let's say, KMFDM sampled Angel of Death, the mid riff. So did Public Enemy. So it goes. There's always that one little stop. And and so when I was writing music and I was writing riffs, and trying to make this Fear Factory into an industrial band, that's pretty much how I heard the machine, because I was heard my riffs, because I was trying to create this stop-start thing, because the samplers would do that when they sampled riffs. So that's how the stop-start thing started. For instance, Leafmaster.
Yeah, dude. That's a great song.
You go into South by Sister, it's like the stop-start thing.
I love
and
that you're.
It's kind of more repetitive. It's a repetitive thing, and that's kind of like me trying to copy the machine, and that's.
I freaking love that.
And I believe that is pretty much part of Meshuggah too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
But not that one of us ripped off each other.
No.
We were just in two completely different parts of the world with, happened to have similar ideas in a way.
Yeah, you guys were definitely different in the beginning. I listened to Meshuggah early on before they had their, Destroy Race Improved sound. And then I listened to you guys, Demanufacture first, then Soul of a New Machine. And I actually want to go a little bit to your new album, although I do have one more question, because regarding the other stuff, because I love that you're bringing up the old stuff here. So one of my questions that I had for you is, not counting this new album, because of course everybody's going to say the new album, what was your favorite Fear Factory album to work on? What was your favorite, do you have a specific time period where it was like everything just gelled perfectly and you felt like you guys were absolutely on fire? What was your favorite like Fear Factory time, but not counting right now, because of course everybody's going to say, right now, man.
I would say every record that we've done has been representative of time, place, where we were personally, and as a band. Every record's had something about it. You know what I mean? That it's not just the story of the album, but it's the story surrounding the albums, right?
Yeah.
And no record I've done has been easy. There's always been some sort of stress, some sort of dramatic change. There's always been something going on, right? There's always been a lot of drama.
Life is like that, man. It sucks.
Yeah, it's life, right? But to me, my two favorite records that we wrote, and to make, and when we were probably doing a lot of experimenting, was Demanufacture and Obsolete.
Yes. Oh my God, that's such an awesome answer. Those are literally my two favorite albums. I do like some of the newer stuff as well. I thought Archetype was really good, and the new one sounds amazing.
I wasn't on that record.
The new one, were you not on that? Oh, that's right, crazy. But the new one's freaking awesome, because the new one reminds me of some of those older albums just a little bit. There's this, like, nostalgia to it. As soon as I heard a couple of the new songs, I was like, wow, this reminds me of like the Fear Factory of old, and I don't even know why. I can't pinpoint it, but Obsolete was a huge like thing for me. That period of time, the late 90s, when that came out, man, I remember when that album came out, that sat in my CD player for like 2 weeks straight. I'm not even joking.
Well, you know, Obsolete had more epic songs. We tried to make a more organic, futuristic sounding record, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
We were actually trying to not do demanufacture again. We were trying to take our music to another level, to another place. And you got to realize, by 1998, you know, a lot of the new metal had come out, a lot of groovy music. So we were trying to make a fucking killer groovy record. But we were like, okay, this is our version of what we call groove. You know what I mean? Of course, you already had, you know, bands like Pantera, and you had, you know, bands like Korn and everything else that was coming out in that groovy vibe, right?
Right.
So we were like, okay, that was our version of like, okay, here's our fucking groove. Check it out. Because, you know, a demanufacture, you know, it was just ripping from start to finish. And there's so much detail on both those records that are so vastly different.
That's true. It's so weird how different those albums are, but I mean, you could obviously nail that if you guys, most people these days that are into metal, if you put on any song from either of those two albums, they're going to be like, oh yeah, Fear Factory, even if they hadn't heard it. But it's so weird how different those two albums are, yet so amazing and detailed.
Each approach, you know, we try to approach each record differently, and that's something that I've been doing since day one, because I like to grow, I like to progress, and I like to do something different, but without really necessarily changing our formula. For instance, I'll give you an example. A song like Resurrection. It's one of the most epic songs that we've ever written, one of the most mature and intelligent songs that we've ever written, right?
Yeah.
But we were like, I believe that we wouldn't have been able to write Resurrection during the demanufacture because we were in a different place. Demanufacture opened the world for us. We traveled everywhere around the world for 2 years straight, right? And we got to experience otherworldly things, you know, whether it's food, culture, people, just traveling and experiencing all that really opened our minds to other things. So a song like Resurrection is really where I believe that the band became adults.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? We grew. We became. The band has become fucking intelligent songwriters.
Oh
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
your last album was really freaking good too, and Genexus, that album was freaking awesome too. And you guys have just gotten better and better as far as musicianship and overall just sound. I do have to ask though, with you mentioning those two albums, my last question. Sorry about the clock. Lord.
About the
what?
what?
Time it is? It's noon.
The clock doesn't know what time it is.
Yeah.
Sorry about the clock. Is that what you said?
Yeah, you can't hear it.
No, I don't.
Oh, that's funny.
There's a grandfather clock going on.
But anyways, my next interview doesn't start for another like 15 minutes, so we have about 15 minutes to go.
Oh, dope, dude. I thought we were out of time. Sweet. All right. Well, dude, getting into Aggression Continuum, the album sounds massive, sounds heavy, it sounds brutal. What do you think sets this album apart from the other albums? Because I know, you know, throughout all the albums, you know, we grow as individuals. What part of your heart you think was this album?
There's a lot. There's a lot there. One is where we were at that time we were writing the record, what we were experiencing, what we were going through. Now, on a world sense, we, in 2016, 2017, when we first started writing these songs and actually finished the song, we were in a different place. You got to realize the world was going through this weird political conspiracy type thing. You know, Trump was president at that time, and influenced other Trumpian type of world leaders to be assholes and to divide the country, divide, people's views. It introduced the conspiracy theory in a more it exposed it even more, these conspiracy theories. There was, this political environment was ruining families. It was ruining relationships. It was ruining a lot of things. There was a lot of border politics here in California, with the wall and all that stuff. And there was just a lot of turmoil going on in the world, right? So that's one aspect. Technology also played a big part in that as well, with the selling of our information, the conspiracies that were being thrown out online that were lies. You know what I mean? That's where songs like "Manufactured Hope" comes in, where these lies were manufactured lies, right? But they put the fear in you, but at the same time, it's like, hey, if you come with me, I'll give you hope. You know what I mean? So manufactured hope, things like that. So we were in that vibe, right?
Yep.
And so if you listen to a lot of Bert's, the way he convicted his approach on this record, a lot of anger in it, disruptor, a lot of anger. And I believe that there was some magic in 2017 to when we wrote these songs, but I believe the magic really happened in 2020 when I got control of the record, because the record had the original version in 2017 had drum programming on it. And drum programming is great, and it's advanced over the years a lot. But in 2012, we released a record called The Industrialist that had drum programming on it, and the fans hated it. And it's kind of weird that some fans like it now. I've read a lot of reviews where people are like, why don't you just keep drum programming on the record? We're in the future now, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no duh, and I've done it, but our fans didn't like it. So I didn't want to fall in that trap again, so I decided to put live drums on the record in 2020. And I believe that added more dynamics and more nuances to the music. I've also collaborated with a bunch of different keyboard players. And when they listened to the music, when they added their parts, one of the things I've noticed is that when we were doing the heavier parts and the melodic parts, which is a bigger contrast between the two, right? And that really made certain parts stand out, which I love. The keyboards and the orchestral parts and just the sounds that we used really elevated, the melodic vocals, or elevated the intros of the record, or it elevated the verses, you know what I mean, or made the pre-choruses more intense. That was one of the different magic and the different things that we did, because usually when we've made records, we've only used one keyboardist, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Well, when you're adding different guys who are very talented, they see each song differently, you know what I mean? And that's really cool, because you have the difference between Monolith and Recode,
Mm-hmm.
two completely different vibes and styles of songs.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And those are two different guys working on the songs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two different keyboardists, which is really cool.
Yes.
And that's something that I would also like to try to do in the future, is reach out to other people and collaborate with them to come up with some great music. Also, Andy Sneap mixing the record was a big thing too. And also Damien Reynaud, a guy who has been working with us since 2011. He's been the engineer on this record. I put him in the driver's seat. I put him in the production. I put him as producer, and he was able to get all these things and put all these things together and get it prepared for Andy Sneap to mix it. And then we also treated Bert's vocals. We made him sound like $1 million. We went and polished his vocals up, and the record's fucking killer. I believe that I believe that when I write music, I believe that music needs tension and it needs a release. And I like to build up the tension, whether it's in the intro of the song or the verses or the pre-choruses. And then the release is obviously the chorus, right? The beautiful melodic, angelic chorus that comes in, where it feels like, because everything else is bleak in the verse, and also the chorus comes in. It's like the light at the end of the tunnel. It's like the light shooting through the clouds, this is like a big, epic, angelic thing. And that's the release. And that's the beauty of writing music in general. You know what I mean? I believe that music needs to, what am I trying to say? Music is about experimentation. It's also about discovery. It's about challenges. A lot of records we've done, plenty of challenges, trust me. And sometimes, creating music should be dangerous and radical. I mean, if you go way back to, Soul Machine, putting clean vocals on it, that aggressive of a record, of a death metal type of record, grindcore mixed with industrial, that was unheard of to put clean vocals at that time in, songs. Not just a part, but all the songs had clean parts in it, right? That was radical. And then we did industrial remixes with Fear is the Mind Killer. There was dance remixes, techno dance remixes, mixed with death metal vocals, clean vocals, and all that stuff, right? So that was pretty radical. So for me, you can't fear to try new things because those fears can keep you from discovering something new. And I've always lived by that.
I remember the first time I heard...
I love it, thank you, yeah.
I remember the first time I heard Suffer Bastard in clean vocals after that dum-dum-dum-dum, no. Dude,
Suffer Bastard, yep.
That shit absolutely blew my mind. I remember walking through my high school with that in my headphones because, it was a tape. Oh, yeah, I guess I did have that one on tape. Because I specifically remember walking through high school with that on headphones and absolutely blasting to the point that people could hear it, outside my head.
Yeah.
Great shit.
Yeah, when Fear Factory first came out, when people first heard the band Soul in the Machine, we had a lot of people talking shit because they, to them, it was so radical that we put, clean vocals on a brutal album. Roadrunner at that time had lumped us in with all the death metal bands, right? The Cannibal Corpses and the Deicides and the Obituaries. And all of a sudden, this death metal guy who's into that music hears this, they're like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this?
I embraced it. I don't know. I think I just heard you guys at the right time.
Also, the same thing that people hated was the same thing that people started to like.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then later on, by the time Obsolete, Digimortal, all those records came out, other people were embracing that style as well, right? Heavy verses, melodic choruses. That later on, like in the 2000s, bands were actually advertising. It became such a trend to do that bands were actually advertising on their records, no clean vocals.
I remember.
So it came full circle again to where people started to hate it. You know what I mean?
Totally. Okay, one more quick question. Just a quick question because, and I know it's nothing alike, but do you dig bands that have dualities like, like Opeth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I dig Opeth? Yeah, they're cool, but not my favorite band or nothing like that. But yeah I dig bands that have duality, of course. Look at Slipknot. Look at Slipknot. I mean, if Fear Factory didn't open the doors for duality vocals, Slipknot wouldn't even exist as far as, what Corey Taylor does in the band.
Yeah.
I dig it, dude. Well, Dino, I want to thank you so much for talking to us today and talking about Aggression Continuum and just your life story. Before we end the interview, we're just going to shoot you a bunch of fast, fun questions, if you're okay with that.
Yes.
All right, man. If you could play guitar for any band in any era for one set, dead or alive, what is that one band?
AC/DC.
AC/DC.
Yeah.
I like it. If you could choose your death, but it had to be by a serial killer in a horror flick, who would you pick to kill you?
The Night Stalker.
Nice.
Ooh,
Richard Ramirez.
nice.
Richard Ramirez. And then if it was in a movie, definitely Army of Darkness.
Oh,
Evil Dead.
Love that.
I
Evil
just
Dead.
scored a copy of that, and I am so stoked. I love that movie.
All right, Dino. In a zombie apocalypse, you get one weapon to kill the zombie horde. What is that one weapon?
And there's well, anything that shoots a million bullets at the same time.
So like a Gatling gun?
Yeah, Gatling gun, whatever it is. But
right.
something that would shoot that many bullets.
So for your fans out there that maybe don't know a whole lot about you, what is one thing you're good at besides music?
Fucking eating Mexican food.
Ah! Amen.
Okay. Hey, what's your favorite plate?
My favorite plate is the carne asada plato. It's the carne asada plate with the rice and the beans and the steak, flour tortillas, jalapenos, and I love iced tea, so I'll be drinking iced tea.
Nice. Okay, here's the divisive one since we're talking about Mexican food. Do you like mole?
Of course.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's my favorite dish. Okay, I've got a question. What is one instance on stage where you guys had something crazy, funny happen? Just give us your wackiest story of something that happened live on stage.
Well, I can give you something that happened to me on stage. One time I was in San Diego, California, and I was playing, and I invited some family members out to see the show, and we were opening up for Ozzy Osbourne. And I was playing, and the button in my shorts broke, and my shorts fell down to my knees. I'm sorry, actually down to my ankles. And so I was like,
exactly what I'm looking for.
It was cool that at least the guitar was there to cover up my penis, right? But I kind of like waddled off to the side of the stage because I didn't want to stop playing the song. My guitar tech lifted up my pants. I told him my button broke, so he grabbed tape and he just made a belt out of duct tape.
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
And I went back. I didn't miss a note.
Oh my God.
Didn't miss a riff. I went back out there and I played.
That is true
Awesome,
class
dude.
right there, sir.
So one thing as a fan I really want to ask is believe it or not, I got into Fear Factory after Roadrunner did the Roadrunner United, and I heard that song you did. It was with Matt Heafy. Was it The End, right?
Yep.
Dude, that song was fucking awesome, dude. I've listened to that song like a million times. I needed to get that off my back.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, last but not least, Dino, before we let you go, could you say this is Dino from Fear Factory and you're listening to the Metal Mixtape?
Yes. Hi, I'm DINO CAZERAS from the band Fear Factory, and you're listening to the Metal Mixtape.
Hey, gracias, hermano. You have a beautiful day. Thank you so much. This is an honor for all of us
Yes, thank
to
you.
grace us with your voice, man. It was a pleasure, and thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Talk to you guys later.
Okay,
Good
peace out.
Bye.